True, my friend. It was exactly 1 week ago when those very first snowflakes began to fall in the tri-state area. Now, while we didn't have any snow right here in the immediate Chattanooga area, Monteagle Mountain was definitely getting white. That's where Karen Drew and photographer Greg Johnson were. And they're joining us again live this evening to revisit Superstorm 93. Good evening, Karen.
Good evening, Don. That's right. This time a week ago, the snow had just started falling. By 11 o'clock, it was stacking up. Those in the area didn't know Superstorm 93 was going to cause such problems for the area. Here's a look back at the sights and sounds of our 11 o'clock news coverage 1 week ago.
Live from News Channel 9.
You're looking at live pictures of snow descending on Chattanooga as Old Man Winter takes its last shot at coloring the scenic city white before the changing of seasons. Very pretty. Beth, how does it look out there now?
Well, Mariella, as you can see behind me, the snow is really starting to come down, but not only that, the wind is starting to blow pretty hard. But with dinner in hand and a four-wheel drive vehicle outside, this Lookout Mountaineer wasn't worried about the white stuff. This is not going to put any damper in your lifestyle.
No, actually, it's going to invigorate it quite a bit.
Now, of course, in the higher elevation, snow is expected to be much deeper than in the valley. And we're covered for that, too, because Karen Drew is on Monteagle Mountain tonight, and she joins us now live. Karen, how's life up there?
Well, it's definitely cold, Mary Ellen. The snowfall has definitely picked up, and the temperature is dropping. So as the storm system moves through, that's going to mean some bad news for motorists. The roads are expected to ice up, but right now, Interstate 24 is clear. Are you stockpiling anything, or is this kind of just a regular?
I have granola bars and a full tank of gas. That's about it.
And that seems to be the basic feeling among most of the people here up on the mountain, as you can see.
Heavy snow tonight. It will actually pick up as the night goes on in intensity. Conditions will continue to deteriorate as we get further into the night.
And of course, Neil hit the nail right on the head. In fact, we were stuck here on Monteagle for the next 48 hours. By Saturday morning, everyone in North Georgia and Southeast Tennessee realized how serious the situation was. For folks who did have electricity, they were able to see our live coverage. But for those hundreds of thousands who were out of power, we take you back to Saturday morning.
The winds are going to get higher, and that's going to be a real problem. This is a superstorm. It is. Unbelievable winds.
Here's another one, if I can interrupt you for a second, gentlemen. Polk County Sheriff's Department says that county is closed, period. No roads are passable. Everybody stay home. Polk County Sheriff's Department says the county's closed. That's it. Stay home. And I think we're going to find out throughout the tri-state today.
Karen, the big question this morning, that interstate, is it still open across Monteagle?
No, it isn't, Mike. Actually, the winds are blowing. It's terrible up here. They're calling it, obviously, it's a terrible blizzard. The road crews were working till 4 o'clock this morning trying to keep Interstate 24, but the storm just worsened so much. Visibility got to zero. They weren't able to work on it any longer. Interstate 24 is closed.
Beth, you have a better perspective than us. Can you turn around a little bit and tell us about the traffic coming the other way, coming down into Chattanooga? How does that look right now?
There is no traffic from what we can see coming down into Chattanooga. I think it is just much too dangerous.
We also tell you this shot is from our roof camera. John Creel is up on the roof. This is the only shot we have. We had 3. Power outage on Lookout Mountain has knocked out our other 2. So Jeff Hanna is up there braving the cold and the wind for this shot of downtown Chattanooga via a personal note, Karen. You were born and raised in Chicago. How does this compare with a big Chicago storm?
You know, I have to admit, I thought the Southerners kind of made a big deal about snow, and but you know what? This is a very big deal. This is serious. I'm not used to this at all. I don't like it. You know, I was excited to come down to Tennessee and try to get away from this snow, and it seemed like it followed me. I don't know.
Look off to the right here. We see a truck with a burgundy front, and it is scooting backwards. This guy has tried again and again to make it up that hill. We talked to him a little bit earlier. He has been here since 4 o'clock in the morning and cannot get up the speed to get off, and I guess he chooses not to try to use the off-ramp because that's not much better with the snow drifts. I'm Beth Galvin, live again at Missionary Ridge, and obviously the snow drifts are gone. But when we come back, I'll show you how Superstorm 93 sent thousands of drivers slip-sliding away. Stay with us.
welcome back as we revisit, easy for me to say, I'm a trained professional, Superstorm 93. It was a very difficult time to get out, but one of our News Channel 9 reporters with a bird's eye view of snow-struck Chattanooga was Beth Galvin. Beth spent 4 days along with photographer Ann Werner on Missionary Ridge at the King's Lodge. She's back there tonight. Well, Beth, it certainly looks a lot different, and it's a little drier too.
It's a whole lot drier, Don, and I can kind of feel my face today, so it must be a whole lot warmer too. Imagine waking up to snow and then being brave enough or foolish enough to try to drive in it. Hundreds of Interstate 24 drivers learned the hard way. There was no easy way to navigate Missionary Ridge. The snow completely paralyzed traffic, and drivers from the north flocked to places like Sunset Cafe.
I think we're stuck here till you guys plow the roads out, which looks like it might be a day or two.
A little disappointing. We're not that good at plowing the roads, huh?
Well, I hear you only got 7 trucks. I mean, we got 7 trucks on our block up north, so might be a while.
Now, I don't think anybody knew Saturday morning that a while was going to be more than 24 hours as the entire interstate was closed. There was a whole lot of getting to know each other as miserable drivers compared their stories with each other. Now let's go to Karen Drew on Montego.
Thanks, Beth. It wasn't long after the storm moved into the Tennessee Valley area when interstate traffic between here and Nashville became paralyzed. That left hundreds of motorists stranded in the most treacherous spot along I-24, the top of Mount Eagle Mountain. For much of the weekend, travelers were snowbound on Mount Eagle as the blizzard plowed through our area. Spring breakers headed to Florida piled into the Smokehouse Inn right off the interstate to wait out the storm.
The interstate was down to 1 lane. There were cars all over. We just kept going. And we got here and they told us we couldn't go no farther.
We were looking forward to the beach. We had volleyball, swimsuits and everything. We should have brought our skis instead.
Most travelers try to make the best of the bad situation, like these square dancers who spent the weekend brushing up on their routine.
Karen, thank you. Until 20 inches of snow falls, most of us do not realize how much snow weighs. The folks who own and operate Sam's warehouse at Highway 153 and Lee Highway know all too well. As you can see, the front of the warehouse collapsed during Superstorm 93. However, Sam's expects to reopen tomorrow. Now in Dalton, Georgia, many more roofs caved in, dragging the walls down with them. At last word, many buildings were still too dangerous to enter, and thousands of workers in Cleveland and Dalton are unemployed. And at Big Ridge Yacht Club, the roof came down on dozens of boats. Residents got a good look at what the weight of snow can do. State emergency management agencies are still trying to put together overall damage estimates that will probably be many millions in Tennessee and Georgia.
It was 2 a.m. Saturday when Bradley County, Tennessee officials declared the storm a major disaster. At least 90% of the county had lost power over the weekend. In Cleveland itself, roof cave-ins devastated several furniture plants, destroying thousands of dollars worth of material and leaving almost 1,000 workers with uncertain futures.
Keep warm, get fluid. Appreciate what you do.
Thanks, sir.
Tennessee Governor Ned McWhorter toured snow-ravaged Polk County Tuesday, where crews still struggle to reach isolated families who were trapped in the mountains. Sheriff Bill Davis had threatened to ticket anyone out on the roads during the blizzard. Those hardest hit in Bradley and Polk counties, the farmers. Power outages shut down milking machines. Roof cave-ins destroyed chicken houses, leaving many in a crisis situation.
I'm John Plus, live at the Convention and Trade Center. Many superstorm victims came here during the crisis. When we come back, I'll tell you how the National Guard helped out with MREs.
R&R Electronics and Appliances will be selling all of its inventory, equipment, and fixtures at absolute auction. One day only, Saturday, March 20th, 10 a.m. till conclusion. Hurry, don't miss it.
With the 24-valve V6 engine, the Lexus ES300 sports sedan will undoubtedly give you an incredible amount of confidence. Fortunately, it has a sophisticated anti-lock disc brake system for when your sanity kicks in. And with a price like this, you'd be crazy not to see Lexus of Chattanooga.
This is not a jungle or a tropical rainforest, yet it's home to more plant life than any place of its kind. It's the Lawn and Garden Center at Home Depot, where you'll get helpful advice from our gardening experts. To keep your yard looking great, reach for powerful Weed Eater yard care products. Weed Eater trimmers and blowers are easy to handle, and you can choose from gas and electric models. Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning.
It's Toyota's Simply Irresistible sales event. Your Toyota dealer invites you to check out Camry. Simply Irresistible. Camry, one of the 10 best cars you can own. Camry, the best car built in the U.S. Simply Irresistible. The incredibly quiet, comfortable, powerful Camry. It's Toyota quality at its best. Simply Irresistible. So hurry and see your Toyota dealer now, because Toyota deals are just simply irresistible.
Got a minute? Join us at First Baptist Church for The Choice, a musical Easter drama March 27 and 28 at 7 o'clock p.m.
On Sunday night, the mercury plunged to 11 degrees, a record for the city of Chattanooga. That left 60,000 residents in many areas without power and heat. Now, to help out with that situation, the Convention and Trade Center opened its doors as an emergency shelter. However, as you can see now, it's a much different situation. The convention schedule is back online. But let's take a look at how things were just 1 week ago.
Nightfall brought flurries and frigid temperatures, and dozens of Chattanoogans looking for shelter and warmth at the Hamilton County Trade Center. Families like the Writers, whose St. Elmo home lost electrical power early in the morning.
It wasn't so bad to start with because, the house retained some heat, but we knew that we couldn't stay there any length of time with a 6-month-old baby and smaller, small girls.
Most of those overnighting here say this was not part of their plan.
We're ready for everything except the power going out. We had food. All the food needed to be cooked. Without juice, we couldn't do anything.
So instead of cooked dinners, the hungry got the next best thing. MREs, pre-packaged military meals donated by the National Guard. Colonel Jim Darling says the soldiers have been hitting the road in Humvees trying to help out stranded storm victims.
It had to be a real emergency before we've taken the call, really, because there's just too many people out there with too many problems, and so we've dealt with the real problems.
The Stevenson kids had no real problems working up an appetite, but mastering their first MREs was another thing.
I got some omelet with ham, and I've got some beverages, and I've got some crackers. That's about all, and you can't cook it hot.
How do you feel about dinner in a plastic bag?
Well, it's unusual.
Those MREs tasted fairly good. I've had a few of them myself, and they're not bad for a day or two. Back to you, Don.
We could get by on them, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Kerosene heaters were brought down from the attics of many who decided to brave the cold at home. With the massive power outages continuing into the first of the week, most had to go in search of more kerosene. The list of homes without power continued to grow, quickly draining the fuel supply. By Sunday evening, just a handful of convenience stores were still selling it.
It's been cold. Yeah, no heat, kerosene's about the only thing to heat with. Can't cook nothing. Went and spent $60 worth of groceries and can't do nothing with them. It's all gone, huh? No, it ain't all gone. It's just can't cook it. No power.
No power, that's the word. No one seemed to complain about the price or the long wait in line to buy it. They were just happy to find fuel for heat.
Well,
as we continue, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Storm, we're going to move on to Sunday. And that's when folks got antsy and began to prowl around.
They wanted to see for themselves what the superstorm had done. Beth Galvin will have that story when we return.
Last Sunday morning when I woke up here on Missionary Ridge, the sun was coming out for the first time over Chattanooga. But the seriousness of the situation was far from over. Still, there was this feeling of cabin fever in the air as storm victims wanted to get out and see for themselves how deep the snow was, how bad things really were. Photographer Ann Werner and I tagged along as folks hit the road for the first time.
Like thousands of his snow-besieged neighbors,
Jim Dial took advantage of the sunshine to dig out. But this is one man who won't be taking any scenic snow drives.
See, it's too deep for me. Honestly, I don't have anything that important to go out, which I'd like to help somebody if I could, but I know I couldn't get back in.
To get out of their freezing Red Bank apartment, these two women paid a local tow truck company $40 for a 5-mile Jeep ride to a hotel.
My little girl has had 103 degrees temperature for 2 nights. We can't find a pharmacy open to get her prescriptions, and we're just to the point we're almost in tears, I mean, it's bad. It really is. I hope that people out there who can help other people right now will do all they can.
Across town at the BP on 23rd, drivers waited their turn to take home kerosene. With only a few stations pumping the fuel, kerosene has become one hot commodity.
And this is one of the shortest lines in Chattanooga. Yesterday, we was out helping people. I've got a 4-wheel drive truck, and the lines yesterday was just unreal. We saw some lines as far as a block and a half long in a lot of areas.
Those who could get there on foot stocked up at local convenience stores during the storm, but without deliveries, the supplies were quickly running out. This 23rd Street Red Foods was also low on food and workers, but they opened for the first time since the storm, and hundreds of Chattanoogans lined up for the chance to buy what they could.
I'm enjoying it. I hope y'all are.
Do you have anything at your house?
Oh, yeah, odds and ends, cans, but we need, need to get some more essentials that we needed to get, just to live on for the next day or two. We don't know when electricity is going to come back on.
And of course, the electricity didn't come on for days. In fact, it's still not on for some people, right, Don?
Certainly, and I can report after almost 155 hours, I have power, which is very nice. Lots of folks did spend some cold, dark nights. Thousands of viewers in our area. Many thought the worst was over on Sunday, but for travelers along Interstate 75, the worst was just beginning. Drivers eager to escape the snow got caught in an unexpected frozen freeway jam. Semi-trucks were tire deep in snow, stuck, nowhere to go and no way out. In many other cases, cars slid from roadways. Drivers abandoned them, seeking shelter and refuge from the storm.
You're looking at the aftershocks of Superstorm 93, Interstate 75 southbound, and northbound from the Ringgold Road overpass. A wall-to-wall, bumper-to-bumper parking lot. Authorities closed one of the most traveled interstates in the nation at the Tennessee-Georgia line due to a deadly coating of snow and ice. The stranded included mostly long-distance truck drivers and vacationers headed to spring break in Florida. And many of them, like the Tragos of Ontario, spent the night in 11-degree weather in their cars. Chattanooga's working hard to attract tourists, but most of these folks didn't know where they were.
Another 3 hours to get here to Chattanooga, right? We're in Chattanooga?
Right.
And spend the night in a gas station parking lot.
Motorists were forced to stay in their cars because emergency shelters and hotels in East Ridge were full by midnight. Others were luckier or faster.
Because we were coming down and we said, well, we'll try one of these hotels. And I said, I'm running over here. And I ran over and I said, got a room? And she said, well, yeah, this is the last one.
Okay. So 114, if we leave, you can have our... You have 2 double beds. We have 2 double beds.
As they waited for the freeways to open back up, many northern travelers told me they appreciated the good old-fashioned southern hospitality they've been getting, although the general feeling was they would rather have been invited here than stranded here.
We fed some of them here, and we just try to help them all we can. I mean, just good southern people.
Around mid-afternoon, authorities reopened one lane of I-75 southbound, and travelers resumed their long journey at a snail's pace. And while many Chattanooga residents struggled to put their lives back together, many folks just passing through got a taste of that southern hospitality, courtesy of Superstorm 93.
And those folks got to see Southern hospitality at its best.
Very best.
Of course, it's Friday, and that means that it is time for Friday's Hero.
Obviously, selecting a single hero for this week is impossible, as thousands of hardy souls brave the elements to protect lives and property. And when we come back, Mary Ellen Local will bring us a salute to those of you who went above and beyond the call of duty.
One of the things about a crisis like this is it really does bring out the very, very best in people.
That certainly was evidenced this week during the Superstorm. Believe me, last weekend's winter storm brought out more than road crews. In many cases, it also brought out the best of human nature. In Friday's Hero, we pay tribute to all of the men and women who made a difference during the havoc of Superstorm 93.
There's no way to mention all the kind or heroic acts witnessed during the long, cold days of the storm of the century. Emergency workers from all over did an outstanding job around the clock. But they couldn't do it alone, and the people of the Tennessee Valley refused to let each other down.
We're blessed with people that help people and that care about people, and it's rewarding. And we worked real hard and didn't sleep hardly any at all. But when you see things like that, it's all worthwhile to see people come together.
Whether trudging through knee-deep snow on foot or reaching impassable areas in four-wheel drive, they all lent a helping hand. There were daring rescues, but just as important were the food and fuel runs for stranded neighbors.
Well, maybe someday somebody will do something for me like this. You know, I helped them today, they'll help me tomorrow.
And let's not forget the hundreds of volunteers who manned local shelters, helping to feed strangers who had nowhere else to go. Nowhere to go was also a problem for travelers stranded on I-75, but their guardian angel, Ernestine Hurd, lowered buckets of food and drink from an East Ridge overpass.
I hope so, because everybody's been pulling together through this storm, and that's what's most important, is helping each other out.
Some of the rescues we watched through the eyes of photographers. Other stories came from viewers who called to share their stories with us. None of them more extraordinary than Elsie Owenby's.
Miss Owen? Hey, there. How are you?
Paramedics Richard Tanner and Bill Reed and RN El Sarin were among those who took part in saving Mrs. Owenby's life. It was a rescue attempt that involved 2 wrecked and stranded ambulances and 1 stranded rescue vehicle, but all arrived on foot after as long as a 3-mile hike through waist-high snowdrifts, dragging equipment in hand. Over a course of 8 hours, this heart attack victim clinically died 3 times, but was resuscitated. Finally, she was transported safely to Humana East Ridge Hospital.
Everybody has a guardian angel, and I feel like all of these are mine because they saved my life.
Here are some of the stories you called in to tell us about, all of them in honor of the thousands of heroic acts displayed during the blizzard of '93.
My special hero is Guy Broom. He took kerosene to elderly people, and the ones that didn't have a kerosene heater, he took them out and put them in homes that did have heat, and he took food to a lot of people.
I would like to nominate Mark Hutchings. He had to come out in the blizzard Saturday and had picked up my family and I. We were without heat.
I'd like to thank the Sunset Cafe staff for the job well done. They were there 5 days and 5 nights, and I ate there personally as I was stuck on the freeway.
My brother, Mark Lindsay, and even though he didn't have any heat or power or anything, he volunteered to take nurses back and forth to Erlanger, Stone. He came down yesterday with a tractor and a scraper and cleaned my driveway off with several others. I didn't even know the name.
William Pickett of Whittle, Tennessee, suffered a heart attack Saturday morning. Ambulance attendants couldn't reach him. The surrounding community all pitched in with 4-wheel drive and other help. They all put aside their own needs and concentrated on him. With their help, we got him to the hospital. We lost a great man that day, but these that help are truly heroes.
To these people and the many others out there who reached out to their neighbors, we at News Channel 9 salute you as this week's Friday's Heroes.
You know, I sure appreciate it, but
We probably received 100 calls from people commending others for the smallest of gestures, but they were all life-saving gestures in this case. And I want to say that although we didn't have the time to put them all on the air today, they will be on that commemorative storm retrospective tape that News Channel 9 is putting together. So if you order that, it's wonderful to listen to these people.
You know, it really was a time for heroes. Mel showed you some. We had a lot of folks behind the scenes, but you folks out there were heroes also. Those of you who endured during the crisis, those of you who didn't panic and just kept your heads, and we thank you for that. We were glad that we were able to bring you the latest information as we got it, and we thank you for sharing your time with us, not only tonight, but last week also. Don?
Thank you.
Good night.